Hello, everybody. Name's Alice full of water, and what's English is my co-host?
This is me, Ludovico, and we're here for the episode 1 of Desert Squid, the Freaky Links podcast that is also queer.
Everybody's favorite queer podcast on an obscure show from 2000's Fox. We're covering episode 1. Episode 1 of this amazing show called
Fearsome.
Fearsome. Very good name.
Very good name. The sum of all fears. Do you get it?
It's iconic writing. Okay, so we started with the episode summary, of course.
Yeah, we're gonna. Before we start with the summary, I'm just gonna tell you all that if you don't want to get spoiled, you can watch the episode on YouTube. It should be very easy to find. Just look for Freaky Links Fearsome. And with that, I'm gonna switch the screens so Alice can read us a bit about this episode.
We start the episode with our main character, Derek, resourcing spontaneous self-combustion in a strip club for the website occultresource.com. I should mention, just before we talk about this later, but in the strip club, the iconic music, was it ZZ Top, starts playing?
Yeah, I think it's ZZ Top.
So in this strip club scene, just ZZ Top stops playing.
Very, very stereotypical.
Very good, very iconic woman music to be in the strip club. When he gets a call from his wife, Adam, who is also his boss. I should mention Adam is, if I remember well, played by the same actor as the main guy.
Yeah, they just do a thing to the hair, and he looks completely different. But they're also twins, so they're twin brothers. So that's like the joke.
Iconic, yeah. And Adam seems to be in trouble and asks Derek to come over to his house. Arriving there, Derek finds his father dead in a bathtub. Flash forward 3 years later, Derek's still working on the site. He and his father but now it's called Freaky Links. His co-worker Jason gets introduced in a found footage scene where they try to get hold of a historical Native American person's head. They messed it up and have to flee the scene. I should mention this because it's kind of important. There's a song that plays during this scene that we cannot figure out what it is.
It's rumored to be a Power Man 5000 song.
But we don't know if anybody that listens to this podcast is a Power Man 5000 have. Can you please watch this episode and see with your expert talent in Power Man knowledge and lore if this is actually a Power Man song? And then we can have you on the podcast talk about Power Man.
My DMs are open if anybody wants to talk about Power Man.
Next, we get introduced to Derek's second employee, Lan, who is a computer poet. Derek uses the fact that Lan has finished for him to make her do work. Derek then checks his email to find out.
I think we could switch up here.
Okay, yes, switch.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do the second half. Derek then checks his emails to find one titled Lazarus, which contains recent surveillance camera footage showing Derek's brother alive. Dum dum da. Also, the word Croatoan is in that email. In the ensuing investigation, Derek meets up with his brother's ex, Chloe, who's a psychologist. I'm going to mention here real quick that she is introduced punching the shit out of a guy in a box ring, which is really cool. They find out that Croatoan is connected to a myth about disappearing settlers back when America's colonialization started. Chloe and Derek go to Adam's house to find out more, where they learn about shapeshifters, which, of course, that's the most logical reason. Next, they go to a mental facility where they talk to Vince Elsing, who is someone who knew Adam. He does a bunch of foreshadowing. That's what I wrote down here. They go back to Adam's house where they find symbols behind the tapestry that seems to have been an attempt at protecting against something supernatural. They then get attacked by a shapeshifter, which they assume is Virginia Dare. More in the analysis. Suddenly Vince from the mental institution is there, and they defeat the shapeshifter with a ring they find in the house. Then Vince disappears after doing some more foreshadowing. That's basically the episode.
Okay, now it's time to put our critic headers, our critic cards, and just to analyze this episode. Analyze it. Okay, so do you want to start first in your opinions about the episode?
Yeah, let's talk just about some different small things, I guess, first. This was the Goyer episode. Yeah. And so this is a bit different than the rest of the show, but this also has almost all of the weird stuff that we will get later, just not on the same level. And researching this episode, I found out that it's way more problematic than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think it's finally working part because we can hinted at in episode 0. So what happens is basically Gaia wanted to be in a different writing direction than what Fox wanted to be. So basically what happens is that there was a fight which made a couple of things happen. First, Guy stepped from being like the main being the main writer of the show, and being involved in the show to just being producer. Second, we already mentioned this, but he changed his name to stop being involved with the show to a fake Latino name.
Oh, we mentioned that in episode 0.
Yeah.
We talked about the name.
Yeah, just reminded folks of this course law. So, and basically this episode would be basically, if Guy hadn't got in the fight over what he wanted to write with Fox, this is basically what the show would be.
A good example for what we're talking about is there is a character introduced in this episode that is set up as a villain for the show. And this character never gets mentioned again in the entire season, the entire runtime of the show. He's called Gunter Mollberg. And I quote the show here. These are not my words. He is the vertically challenged Donald Trump of occult collecting. Just let that sit in the room for a moment. He appears never again after this episode. He's the person involved in purchasing the decapitated Native American, the head. And at the end, he basically gets cursed by the head. And then there's a funny goof that I didn't mention in the summary, where Jason brings back the head, and now they are cursed. Funny hijinks.
The head also never gets brought up again.
Yeah, let's get to that head. So I did some research, and Osceola was a real person that fought against the white people who were stealing his land. And there's a lot of places in America named after Osceola, actually. There's like 10 places named after him. And his head was actually cut off after he was executed and displayed in a drugstore. So we have some really real life yikes in the first episode of this show already. And the thing is, there is actually like urban legends about this head, about like it disappearing and reappearing in different spots in America. So nobody knows where the head is nowadays, or if it even exists still.
God. God. What you God? It's like, why freak leaks? Why?
Yeah, there's a pattern established here about them just appropriating other cultures and just making it in the most exploitative way possible.
It's like not to get into thing, but like 2000s always had initiatives, and especially of course 90s and everything. There's like this using, like it happens with a lot of marginalized people, especially happens like Native Americans and everything, just the using of their culture. And we're gonna talk this about more in the episode. I want to go into some things about like that, but just to start this to leading on. For we go to this combo specimen about especially about the Khotan. It's very much important. It's very much hollow. Hollow has always used Native American people, especially a lot of bad ways, and especially the folk tales and the actual people that lived. And free killing just goes there to the most exploitative a lot of times. It's also that's very much interested in using myths and ideas as kind of very much kind of sock-zockers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, we'll talk about this, but it's we like the show. It's gonna be a podcast, but it has issues, especially with being kind of sock-zockers and very much using other people's culture for that.
Yeah, it's very much the almost like reminiscent of the horror like you had it 100 years ago, where there was stuff like Dracula, and it was obviously, oh, we are scared of people from East Europe, like where you make different cultures into horror images. Also, like the villain of the episode turning out to be a shapeshifter. Yeah, there's also like a lot of Native American connections there, with like their culture and their connection to that.
Yes, so yeah, especially the stuff the shifters. We'll go back to that. I just want to mention a couple of things in the episode. When you go to minor details, I do want to find it interesting how this episode is sorted, because it's kind of Blair Witchy. Like it's focusing a lot on the cameras and the QV we recording this, and it's actually just sort much darker and even a bit more, I guess, buzzety.
It is very dark. That is true, and there is one found footage part where they almost get the head of the Native American, and that's where all the shaky cam and the running comes in, like you would see it in Blair Witch. So they had to establish that would be part of the show, and that is also an element that gets taken over into later episodes.
Yeah, it's interesting because the episode feels much darker. There's of course comedy, but it feels very much, even just the start, it feels very much like kind of like even just one of the darkest episodes of the X-Files. Even it's very much so that tries to create a bit of mood in this first episode.
Yeah, this first episode is definitely one of the moodier, darker ones, because you deal with stuff like apparent suicide, probably. Like at first it looks like a suicide, but it might be more. And then you have just different weird appropriative things, and then dark myths. But that the urban legends, of course, they are part of almost all the episodes.
I was just say, personally, I think this is probably kind of one of the most not boring, but it's not kind of average as a starter TV show.
It's not as wacky, and the humor isn't very good when it's there.
And it's actually the issue of this show, and it's probably like the overall thesis of this show when it comes to the writing is gonna be, we agree that Goya probably should have been demoted, because basically the so serious writing in this first episode is not good.
Also, there's like a lot of whiplash. There are fat jokes in this episode, but there's also a part at the start before Derek finds his brother in the bathtub, where he's talking to himself and he's citing something that I tried to find and I can't find it on the internet. I don't know what he's quoting, but he talks to himself and he says, "There are those who will create their own hell just to live in it. Don't let this be you." But he says it in like a hokey voice. And then he says some stuff about zombies next to himself. So I don't know what they were even going for. Also, like his dialogue where he talks to himself, this monologue, is so quiet that I have to crank up the volume extremely loud to even hear what he was saying.
It's just like, you know, like how certain writers cannot move from like movies from TV. Guy is very much like a movie writer, and his movie writing is bad, but this feels very much like trying to be almost movie-esque. Like this, you can see some Blade explanations in this, and with stuff like the monologues trying to be cool.
Yeah.
And like the faces and everything, it's trying to be in a way cinematic, but also the thing is, first, the stuff that Goyle has written that has worked is mostly just because of the style, and this has not a style enough for it to fly and work, and also it's just kind of mostly running as a serious thing. Like, we don't know a lot about Derek Swatter, we don't even know a lot about Derek as a character. So
I guess that's mostly what they want to base the mystery on, that we don't know a lot about Adam, Derek's brother. Basically, we will find out over time, like in X-Files.
Yeah, it feels very much like I could see where they're going, but it just doesn't have very much interesting. It feels very much kind of trying to be edgy, and as an episode, I find it average. It's Fake just to spare the most interesting stuff when it goes into the wacky stuff.
Yeah, either when it becomes extremely self-aware or when it just goes full wacky.
Like, it's just, as an episode, I just give it, if I don't like doing number scores, but I guess if I do a number score, I'll give it like 5 out of 10. It's fine, but nothing interesting. So, I guess we'll go much more into there's no just... and wait, before we go more into this, I'm gonna guess you have the same thoughts about yes in the episode, right?
Yeah, I don't feel very positive or negative about it. You described that pretty well. It's a very average episode to start out on, but I felt like on establishing the characters and the overall plot, it was functional. Like, it works as a first episode. It's just not incredibly good. It doesn't draw you in that much. It did draw us in. We should remember that.
Yeah.
For some reason, we watched the first episode and we went, okay, we need more of this.
I think it's actually, before we go more into like this, the rare appropriation stuff, that this actually has a different intro to the intro the show has uses after this. A theme song, a different theme song.
Really?
Isn't the theme song different? I could swear.
No, I watched the episode. It's the same theme song.
As the other episodes? Okay.
Short editor's note. There is actually another intro track and another intro in this episode. Alice was totally in the right here. I would have noticed, I think.
Okay, maybe I'm just confusing.
Maybe it's cut differently.
It's not an issue.
But before we get into more of the appropriation, do you want to learn about the second yikes?
Yeah.
Because it's very fascinating, because it kind of tells me that there wasn't like a great understanding of the names they used in this, so it's much less like they're trying to be malicious and more like they have no idea what they're doing.
Okay, give me the second yikes.
So, ever heard of Virginia Dare?
I think yeah, actually no. What's Virginia Dare? Explain to me.
Okay, so Virginia Dare is the daughter of the guy who wrote the notes about that disappearance that this episode is talking about, the Croatoan mystery. And Virginia Dare is portrayed as the shapeshifter in this episode, but Virginia Dare has been and is still used as a symbol of American white supremacy because she is seen as the first white child born in the USA.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
And this is like the interesting thing is she is the villain in this one. Like, either they had no idea that she's also a symbol of white supremacy, or they said, fuck it, we hate her.
Actually,
I think it's the first. I think they just don't care about what things mean.
Is freaking utterly woke?
Yeah, this is the secret Antifa leaning of the Freaky Links episode. No, I don't think so. But it was very fascinating learning about that. Because also it's very, very questionable if Virginia Dare was the first white kid born in America.
Yeah,
There's like multiple other cases where it could have been that person. And also there's a note that apparently when the Vikings visited America, they might have had a child there. So not only is it total bullshit, it's also highly questionable.
You know Nazis and everything. They like to use mythology and everything without actually looking into the things.
Yeah. So Virginia Dare was used in like short stories and was like a character in multiple books and has statues of her.
I actually remember Virginia Dare. So there's this little TV show called Sleepy Hollow.
Oh,
the Fox TV show. Based on like
do they have Virginia Dare too?
She gets mentioned during one of the episodes. She's not there, I think.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
So yeah, Sleepy Hollow, very interesting show. If you like Freaky Links, I really recommend to check out the mask at Sleepy Hollow as well. It's very much fun, guys. But yes, I think I only know her because she's in like mentioned briefly in one of the episodes.
So yeah, that was very interesting, this episode, learning about two historical figures and learning that Freaky Links did bad stuff with both of them, kinda just reappropriating real historical figures to fit your silly urban legend show.
Speaking of doing bad things, let's go to the Coatan.
Yeah, I think you have some stuff there.
Yeah, I sent you. I think, so what the Coatan myth is basically, there was this one colony in like Virginia, right? And like there was this one colony, right? And one time they all disappeared, and what remained was the name Coatan, which is like the name of like a real Native American group that, if I remember, from what I understand, they no longer exist, but they have still descendants in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And the show uses this to go, actually it was the shapeshifters.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to say that Virginia Dare like was either was kidnapped by Native Americans and then turned into a shapeshifter, or if they put some kind of curse on the settlers, the Native Americans, because there is a couple frames you see a page in the episode where it says something about a curse that can be like put on people.
Yeah.
So maybe they cursed Virginia Dare to like be a shapeshifter and kill everybody.
So I'm gonna guess you never heard before the Freaky Links of the Coatan myth?
No, that was the first time.
Yeah, I heard it because I talked to you. There was this very more very 90s RPG called Werewolf the Apocalypse. It's about werewolves and by the Vampire Masquerade people, and it's just they use that. And it's like because of that I got familiar with that, and like the Coatan, like overall, like we mentioned, there's been this very much colonial legacy of like white people using Native American things and Native American myths, just anything barely related to Native Americans, and to very much like use them as kind of these like mystical, like mystic people. And it happens a lot to the shapeshifters, it happens a lot with stuff like that. And the Coatan gets brought up again because that world was written. And so you will end up with a bunch of people. It's, of course, there's a very much legacy in this, but especially during the 90s, there was a big population of Native American stuff, in all kinds of stuff. And what we end up with is like these very much turning them into just mythical beings, or just spooky people.
Yeah. Also, there's a sentence they say in this episode that calls Croatoan the holy grail of urban legends, the first American ghost story. And I just noted, besides that, what? Because I'm pretty sure the Native Americans had ghost stories.
Yeah,
like you don't have to wait for white people to make the first American ghost story, because there were people there before. So that, I think that summarizes the like colonializer mindset that the show has, and people often have to stuff like this in Native Americans.
Yeah, it's very much like because people forget very much. Like especially when we get this, because like we're both white people from both European countries with histories, somewhat of imperialism and colonialism, but like those people must this thing, especially when you see it in a lot of indigenous groups, especially in colonial nations, especially like when their myths are used by the colonizers, they very much get turned to just, hey, these people are here. We created this place, but they are here. And
it's very much revisionism, and then mythologizing the other as some kind of supernatural being.
Yeah, you see this with the Powhatan, because a lot of the Powhatan is very much like, these colonizers disappeared, but they were the worth. It's this mystery alone about that focuses a lot, of course, on disappearing colonialism. Yeah. And it's very much like, especially stuff like the safe shifts and everything, especially safe shifts, it's very much just appropriating beliefs from Native American people, just mashing them.
Yeah, because like it's, I think the shapeshifter myth is like connected to the skinwalker myth.
Yeah.
Of like Native Americans turning into animals.
Yeah, and like it's shapeshifters were especially very big in the 90s. Like Werewolves the Apocalypse had both shapeshifters and skinwalkers. I think one of the clans was actually called the Skinwalkers or something.
Yeah.
And like it's very much like thing, because the 90s 2000s especially things masked shapeshifters with the European idea of changelings.
Yes.
So it's very much mixing like European colonialist myths with like Native Americans, and just making this kind of bastardized version of non-white people culture into being consumed for easy horror.
Yeah, it's very much popcorn entertainment level.
Like it's very much like, first, I'm not gonna say, I really thought about this, that at my first viewing, that they were just vampires. That the safe was just like a vampire or something like that. Because there's nothing really uniquely about them. Like you could just make them, oh yeah, this person's an immortal. And there's not. It's just using the aesthetics of Native American culture without actually thinking about it. It happens in the episode of the hair. It happens in this episode of the hair. It happens in the episode of the Powhatan. It happens just using the aesthetics of non-white people without actually thinking about it.
Yeah, and they do it twice in this episode, basically with two different things. They do it with Ocean's heads, and then they do it with the Croatoan myth. So that's like two strikes in one episode.
I guess we should mention that just as we were recording this, there was this guy that wrote a book that apparently solved the thing, the Croatoan myth.
The guy who wrote that in his diary.
Yeah.
That's also where the word fearsome, the episode title, comes from. They say the name of the episode in the episode, so it's good. Not
like the guy. That guy I share you the link of. That they wrote a book recently.
Oh, the article where they found out what actually happened,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
And
It's
yeah, it's
amazing.
probably they just emigrated to an island in the
Yeah,
nearby.
yeah, yeah. It's very much like the thing with like I'm not gonna. This is not a history podcast, but like in especially in this colony of here, the people did not stay often. Of course, and like several into colonies, people moved and everything. So it's and also there was of course health issues and everything. So it's very much in cases like this, very much either they moved or died of some disease.
Yeah, it's very much weird that people made such a big deal out of this one. Because there were so many settlements later that either changed location or were abandoned.
It's very much because the name was written there, which could mean various things like the people of the group could just written their name. Of course, the colonialists could see them one time and just written their name. It happens. And also the things like I should mention because talking about the colonialism of this the entire like, the descendants of course, but the group was like basically killed by European spreading diseases.
Yeah, the Croatoans, they were
Yeah.
basically they got the bad side of the European germs.
Yeah, so it's very much like with like it's very much like this using things like of course the episode doesn't mention that about the Kotan or anything. It's very much like it's very much like it's very much like a lot of the like very much just Hollow try to make this a thing when it's a normal thing and then forgot to mention very much what happened to the tribe of course.
Yeah,
Because they care more about oh no the white people went away.
yeah, it's very much mythologizing something that was probably very trivial and common for that era.
Yeah, God, it's actually one of the issues like this is an issue that so has of course, but it's actually one of the weakest part of the episode because the episode is so much about this thing that it's such a very much 2000 early 2000s 90s thing of like oh yeah scary non-white people man scary.
I mean, that's gonna happen a couple
Yeah.
more times in this
Yeah,
show.
it's an issue. There's also other issues. With episode 3 is going to be very fun. But yeah, I think it's very much like it's very much an weak point. You basically already covered this as well. Do you have anything to add to this Covaton talk?
No, I think if anything, I have things to say about the few bits of mythology about the show we get in this episode.
Okay. You take the lead on that.
Okay,
About the
so they basically drop a bunch of nuggets that set up the plot that will happen over the season or that should have happened over the run of the show. And it's mostly trying to solve the mystery of what happened to Adam and if he's actually dead or how he died. And so I have a theory, and this is pure speculation, but because they establish shapeshifters, and because they have Vince know so much about the shapeshifters from things we learned later, it could be that the shapeshifters are somehow connected to that to a certain shady organization that gets introduced later in the show. And so there's like my theory is that maybe Adam got another shapeshifter to turn into him and then killed that shapeshifter to fake his own death.
Yeah.
That's just a theory from me.
Just a freaky links theory.
Yeah, it's just a theory, a freaky theory. But also they established like this Vince Elsing, which I don't know if that's a play on words on Van Helsing on some level. I have no idea what they were going for with that name. But he's like that guy that knows way too much and doesn't give all the information to Derek, and he's gonna reappear and give like hints to the overall mythology. So he's like an important character, but he doesn't appear in many episodes.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting because they're so established like two characters, or like three that could be recalling, because you have like the old guy, of course, the whistle guy. We have the guy that like interviews as well, that tells him, "You cannot know the truth about this."
Yeah, I think that's Vince. That's Vince Elsing.
Yeah.
That's the guy that escapes the mental ward and then teleports around for the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is actually one of the things I wrote. It's like, what would be like free killings if God had not been removed?
Yeah,
because there's other things in the episodes that we'll talk about when it happens, but there's just a lot of things that feel very much like we could say like the mostly being what Goyer wanted to do with the show. Because like it's not just one joke, like the weird guy seemed like an important character, saying, and like the thing is weird, like Beans is like he's there, he tells Derek to stay away, and we got an episode he actually seems very much important because he's there being menacing and everything, and just never shows up again.
I mean, that character reappears. Like I said, Vince Elsing reappears in Desert Squid.
Oh yeah, he appears in Desert Squid. I must forget. But
the other character is Gunther Malberg, and he only appears in this episode and never again.
Yeah, but I forget. It very much seems like they were meant to be bigger characters.
Yes, Gunther Malberg sounds like he would have like his own episode later, and Vince sounds like someone that would like give hints, and he does that. But I think only in 1 or 2 episodes.
This is very much the deal, but I think combined the episode and especially reading stuff from like the vlog and everything, I think what Freaking was gonna do, it's actually the form of like it's gonna be a with comparison, but I think it was gonna do a Hannibal, the TV show, where like the first season would be like standalone cases, and then if there was a season 2 or 3, it would be like a more plot heavy show. If you get what I'm meaning.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting theory. That could very well be the case, that they would like change format.
Because there's parts in me that seem like it could be like that type of show that changed format from episodic, because because they established a lot about later on, but also in this episode it just feels more of like a plot heavy show, like just Derek being one, seem like Beans and like the evil Sadie group would talk about when they come. We're gonna be much more like menacing or more like show up, including also Derek's Watt and everything. It seems like establishing a like a wall of characters for the show, like not main cast but a main collection of characters.
Yeah, because there is gonna be another like a B plot for the entire season, another one that we're introducing in a later episode. That's totally unrelated to anything and just like basically trying to create suspense, because the overall plot is just meandering around and not doing a lot. It's very weird. It's very weird.
It's very weird, and feels like this whole episode feels very weird, because it feels very much kind of different. So at points, you can even notice that it maybe was filmed. Of course, filmed earlier than the other episodes, because like even the cast looks a bit different. Like there's characters that look different in how they're dressed and everything.
Okay, I didn't even notice that.
Like the tech person, the
Lan.
Yeah. See, actually, that looks a bit different than how she's dressed and looks in the other episodes.
That's true. She has more of like a nerdy appearance in this one.
I do not know if the whiting changes a lot. Did you notice any like whiting weirdness, regarding how like the characters are written in this episode in the water.
I mean, the bad jokes will not go away, so...
Yeah, but I mean more in how the characters react, talk, all, or it feels
yeah,
like.
but that's like very common for shows that they like. Sometimes the writing on the first few episodes takes some time.
Yeah, like especially with especially like American TV, pirates are not like the end all be all. It's even more season one of so like it's of course a lot of concerns and everything. Like I was doing like I was mentioning already Hannibal and like the part of that so it's very different to like season 3, season 2 of that. So it's especially the one that's just analyzing everything and see oh yeah this was because Guy or this and then it was saying it's because Guy was out. But I do find it kind of interesting because there's some parts of this that feel very much possibly a new freak possibly of like what Goya freak links would be, what fearsome would be, because remember fearsome was not just going to be the pirate title, it was going to be the soul title.
Yeah, it got changed into Freaky Links basically last minute.
Fearsome is a bad name.
It's very bad, and also I think. Do you have like anything more to say to the analysis? But I think we should also we should basically continue to the music segment.
Let's say I think one other thing I have before we go is just Derek's water, and I think this goes a bit into my theories about what this show will be.
So what do you have?
It's very interesting because let's talk about this. He feels like pretty much a character that was meant to do more than he actually does in the show. Like of course he's in other episodes and everything, and he's part of like the mythology. But watching in this spite and everything, it feels like he was gonna be like the struggle of Derek getting to his water. Feels like it was gonna be more a core part of the show.
Yeah, it got very much pushed into the background in a lot of the episodes. But I guess that gets basically foreshadowed at the end of this episode where he says while he's looking for his brother, he's going to try to help other people, which in his world means he's going to try to make money from others' misery.
Yeah, it's very much like you could see like this core thing of like they're like Weird Guy, Beans and everything, plus the Freaklings Q, the Freaklings gang as like the core part, and just it's very much like we're gonna talk about this later, especially I'm gonna go like to Desert Squid and the Ator. Okay, I say Ator, but in like the quote notes in the Ator mythology episode they did about the witness, how the Kato is weird and everything. I reckon it's just the idea of like he was the same actor as their exploiter.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't realize it until a couple episodes in that they're the same actor, so it actually works better than you would imagine.
He's doing an actually good job.
Yeah, he's acting well.
It's actually good. It's like, this is good acting from the guy.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Do you have anything on Derek's water and your thoughts and everything? Or just want to put for the other episodes?
No. I think, overall this episode does its job, but it's very much fails on every other front than establishing the characters and the core plot.
Yeah, I guess we should mention before we go. No one to put this aside, but the rest of the Freaklings crew, the gang, we do not talk about them because they don't do a lot actually.
Yeah, they just get introduced, like I said, in a summary, and it gets we get a bit into their dynamics, but also on the acting level, the chemistry gets way better in the later episodes in terms of like comedic timing and chemistry.
Yeah, there's nothing a lot to talk about the other characters of the main cast because they don't kind of do a lot, so they're just kind of there.
Yeah, Jason makes a joke about how he's into fat women. And Lan does stuff for Derek because she's into him. That's basically all that happens with these two characters in this episode. So, do we want to talk about the music?
Let's talk about some music. So basically, let's introduce our musical canon. So basically, every episode we're gonna talk about the bands that showed up on Vikings, because I think with Vikings it was basically just
also a vehicle to promote music.
Yeah, just a vehicle to promote music.
But the first episode is special in the way that probably Goyer or someone chose the tracks for this episode, and because it's a pilot, he got some probably very expensive tracks from more known artists, and that changes later. Like, we get to way less known artists. But this one has probably the most expensive music budget.
Yeah, you could really see it. It's very much like, it very much feels like part of, they had money for the pilot.
Yeah, they pumped a bunch of money in there, or basically the music was in the script and they just put it into the show because they thought this would be big. So the segment is called Where Are They Now? And we're gonna talk about where these bands either are now or how we feel about them. So, Alice, do you wanna give us the first name?
Okay, let's go. It's time to collide some words with Powerman 500.
Actually, 5,000. It's not 5, like the Gex.
500 Powermans.
500 Powerman. My Gex and Powerman 5,000 cover band. So Powerman 5000 is industrial rock and metal. I think y'all, if you lived through the 90s, you probably heard them. Yeah,
the Powerman are very much like when industrial music was being made. You had the more underground stuff, or I guess more go into gothic and themes and everything. You had stuff I guess radio listeners. You had Skinny Puppy, stuff like that. You had then you had Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that, and then you had some more mainstream stuff.
Basically, once the genre got popular, there was the groups that were big on MTV.
Yeah, so I had Fear Factory, White Zombie, Web Zombie, Powerman 500. Which, fun fact, the lead guy from Powerman, Spider Zombie, he's related to one zombie.
Yes, they are family, literally.
Yeah, it's Spider Zombies, one of zombies later what? That was amazing. And
also, you forgot to drop Marilyn Manson into that MTV industrial group.
Yeah, I forgot about the Manson.
He's very much there with the others.
Yeah, but for Powerman, I very much letting that interesting. Some of the later stuff even goes into some kind of yellow techno stuff, or more yellow electronic sound stuff. What's Collide is an example of that. It's probably the most famous song and goes into that not pop, but mainstreamers, having some electronic sounds to it, because with an industrial sound. It's probably the most famous song. Most people probably know them for that. Because of that, for that song. It's a fine song. I like it. It's fine. It's easy and likable.
I mean, yeah, it's good to party industrial. And to the Where Are They Now part, I mean, they're still active. They just don't sound the same.
I should mention before we move them that in the classic PS2 video game Zelda the Hedgehog, Powerman 500 has a tag called Almost Dead. That's just them going over and over for 3 minutes, saying, "Almost dead! I'm almost dead! I'm almost dead!"
So yeah, basically most Powerman 5000 songs.
Yeah, but like in this spin-off, where he has his spin-off to Sonic the Hedgehog, good content. I recommend checking it out. But yeah, they're touring. They're very much. I think they went to more mainstream, not mainstream, but more genre metal sound.
Yeah, they also dropped completely off the mainstream in the sense that nobody cares about them anymore.
Yeah, they're still doing the things. They still have some fans and everything. They're fine. Now let's go to talking about bands that are fine. We got the icons of Dead Walker, ZZ Top.
Yeah, what is there to say? I think they're still touring. Everybody knows them. Your dad probably likes them.
Yeah, ZZ Top were like very much, if you understand, there's very much like in the 60s, they're like one of those like 60s like psych walk bands, or like I guess Southern walk bands. In that line of a million Southern walk bands, stuff like Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. And they're very much just one of those dead bands that never stop touring.
Yeah, and has like 40 albums.
Yeah, like you told me, like you asked to listen to one of the 11s or something.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything.
ZZ Top is fine. They have like that very much dead sound. That it's fine. It's very much like Honey Dead, like strip club music. Basically, it played in a strip club in the episode. It's like it's like middle-aged dead music. It's utterly fine. Some of the later stuff goes into much more different sounds. I'll give it that, and they'll sound fine. It's not like I'm not a big fan of them, but their sound is very much like fine.
They have are okay.
Yeah, like they're probably known most these days for being a bunch of like dads that have beards.
Mm-hmm.
Very iconic beards.
So yeah, the next one is way less known.
Yeah, it's like God Lives Underwater. So God Lives Underwater, I was actually not familiar with them before I look into this. They're a band from Pennsylvania that that got themselves techno walk. And from what I understand, and from what I've seen of the influence, they're basically just like an industrial Walkman, but they take a more techno, softer sound.
Yeah, from what I heard, it's way softer and more danceable, I guess, than most industrial rock.
Yeah, it's not like those danceable like industrial rock. It's not like you're not gonna hear them in like a cyber god wave.
No, definitely not. It's also from the tone. It's not very gothy.
Yeah, it's very much just kind of like a mainstream mainstream crossover thing of like more poppy, not more mainstream, calmer industrial music.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have a lot interesting to talk about. They've been in some movies. They stopped being acting like in like 2005.
Okay, so they made it like 4 years after the show ended, so that's not bad.
Yeah, they did in some movies, some soundtracks. Doesn't seem like any of the members went to like do any big bands or anything, so they kind of just any kind of they're just been kind of there.
Yeah, let's move on. There's nothing to say. We talked about the unidentified song. That could be Power Man 5000. If you know it, hit my DMs. Luscious Jackson is a funny one.
During the 90s and early 2000s, there was a big wave of like outwalk and just big like post-grunge music. Just a lot of music like that over and over and over. And of course, that's a bunch of it was put in the fitting soundtrack. And last season, or another of those bands, they got started in, of course, in the 90s. And funny enough, before they broke up, they actually were in the soundtrack for like a Good Will Hunting.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And had like a Billboard hit with Naked Eye. one of the songs. But after that, they stopped doing it in the 2000s. 1 year before Freaky started.
Basically, they dissolved before Freaky Links even started. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny and kind of funny because most of the other bands were live when Freaky Links started.
Active.
Yeah, active. But if I understand, I will listen to some of their songs. They're a bit more of a R&B, trip hop, walk rap actor.
Yeah, it's also interesting because it was a marketing vehicle to promote bands, and Luscious Jackson had disbanded. So I guess they were like they were taken into the deal for promotion for this show, and then the episode was filmed and scored, and then they disbanded before the show even began.
God.
So that's very interesting.
That's very fun, very enjoyable. But yeah, they're pretty much one of those like another outwalk bands. I listen to some of the stuff that's very much more interesting. It's a bit more R&B, it's a bit more trip hop, a bit more of that of a sound that feels a bit more different. It's still fine music.
Apropos bands from the 90s that sounded like grunge and stuff. Soundgarden.
Okay, so we're gonna have to stop because this is gonna be a loose.
Because if we talk about like 10 minutes for every of these bands, we need to make a separate music podcast.
Yeah, it was just be very much quicker. But yeah, Soundgarden, they're one of the grunge bands, one of the original grunge bands. Very important to that. Their lead singer. The lead singer and the guitarist Chris Cornell killed himself 2 years ago. Sadly, it was sadly, I think.
I saw them live, I think, once. I saw Chris Cornell live, I think, 10 years ago or something.
but yeah, they're very much one of the first of that grunge Seattle scene. They are very much one of the most influential bands. Had some very interesting hits like Black Hole. I think it was like Black Hole Sun and everything. Had also some metal explorations, like open with like Fate No More and like the Canadian band Boyblue one time.
Yeah, they definitely went into a bit more of a heavy direction than other grunge acts.
Yeah, they're very influential, and actually one of the people that worked for them is a war criminal, probably.
Yeah, that's I guess the point we wanted to mention, that yes, Soundgarden has a member that is like doing private contract stuff for private contractors in the Iraq, and yeah, we all know what that means.
So what happens is Jason Everman, a guy that played the guitar for Nirvana and Soundgarden, got very patriotic, I guess, and joined for the Iraq War, and became a Green Beret.
Yeah, he didn't even become a normal soldier. He became like a super murderer, bro.
and now he works as like a private contractor.
So yeah, he's a mercenary now.
It's like, I did not expect to find that, but fun fact, everybody, somebody from Soundgarden is probably committed those war crimes. Curio.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's glad to learn about that from this podcast.
Yeah, we learned so much.
But yeah,
that's fun.
Let's go to the last one, which, yay, Massive Attack. It's Massive Attack.
So yeah, Massive Attack. Just I don't want to make this a music podcast, but very quickly, since I used the term before. So in the 90s and like 80s, there was this movement.
If you don't know what Massive Attack is, stop listening to this podcast and
but basically
block me on Twitter.
But basically, what happens is like basically trip hop got started in the UK, was basically just taking web samples and like slowing them down, using them having another single. It's very much like using a sample, especially if older music. to get new melodies and sounds with the also new musicians, often women.
Yeah, there's a lot of women vocalists in that genre, and it's also just very chill music.
It's very like brutal of a lot of the sampling scenes. Massive Attack is probably the biggest band. They're very cute. There's a lot of very cute samples and use of music, and there's still a lot of very curious fans. They're still putting out and touring. Okay, not now, of course, because current
but they put out new material this year, so they are doing. I would say from all the acts in this list, Massive Attack is still doing the best right now.
Yeah, they're probably still the most popular of these acts. I guess CC Top will be more popular with Dads, but overall more popular. The acts, and overall is just a very cute and I recommend the people check them out. And, okay, do you want to talk anything or just do you want to wrap this up?
We gonna wrap this one up, so can you, what are your pluggables, Alice?
Like always, man, I have a Twitter. I have a Twitter account. Let me just say, I have a Twitter account at Alice Queen of War 1. I have, of course, a YouTube channel where I upload these videos, namely Alice Full of Water, where I upload the podcast, and a Patreon, also named Alice Full of Water, where you can support me, and of course the Twitter channel where I stream obscure video games, also called Alice Full of Water. You can check me out, give me some money. Do you have anything to promote?
Yeah, just the usual. My Twitter is Ludovico_limited, and you can find me on Twitch under Ludovico. Don't know how that connecting sign is called. That's not the /. You know the one. There's like a line in the middle. Okay, Ludovico, that line in the middle, limited. You'll find me on Twitch and Twitter. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And I hope you'll stay freaky. And see you all the next time.
Stay freaky, folks.
Reality for your own self, upon you there are those who will create the world just to live in it. Don't let this be you.